All right, Solana, we are live. Post-game recap for Inter Miami versus New York City FC. 4-0 win for Inter Miami in their journey to try to be another team in MLS history to win back-to-back supporter shields. They're trying to do a lot of back-to-back things this year. But, man, what an incredible win. What is your reaction? Because we're going to break down the first and second half and some of the changes. But what's your instant reaction with that incredible win by Inter Miami against New York City FC?
I was surprised. Inter Miami hasn't been playing their best football as of late. So, they were going up to NYCFC, a place that they've historically had trouble winning games. And luckily, they had and we're going to talk about it, they had a rough first half, but wow, that second half was absolute brilliance. A team that is like you said, controls their own destiny in the Supporter Shield race, and looks like they are ready for this final stretch in the season. That was a big, big win for Inter Miami. They have 2 games in hand. They move up into third place in the Eastern Conference standings. And we have a really, really nice 5 games left in the season and ready to go, man.
100%. And before we get into this game, because there's a lot to cover, make sure you give us a like down below if you haven't already. We're going to try to hit 100 likes on this live stream. I know we will be able to do that. So make sure you like it. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. We've got a new journey. We're going to try to hit 12K subscribers by the end of this year. I think we could definitely do that because we're at 10,000 already and MLS Cup playoffs have not even started. So make sure you subscribe if you haven't already. Hit the little bell notification so you never miss a video. And also share with a friend. We got a great discussion tonight talking about Inter Miami's win over New York City FC 4-0 and what was an incredible game where Messi took back the lead as the Golden Boot in the Golden Boot race in Major League Soccer. Okay, so let's start off with the first half, or let's start off with the lineup, okay? So Inter Miami had been rocking the 5 in the back the last couple matches, right? They've been playing it with Jordi Alba more as a left wing back or as a winger, and they had 3 center backs. But in this match, they went back to the 4-2-3-1. Rodrigo de Paul did not play on the right side. He played more as a box-to-box midfielder next to Sergio Busquets, and they had the 2 pacey young wingers on the right and the left side, Baltasar Rodriguez and Matteo Salvetti. I was a little surprised by this, that they went back to the 4-2-3-1, but I was excited to see what would happen because when they have pace, it changes this whole team, Solana. And when Messi can have some people who can actually run, unlike La Tortuga in the middle, who's absolutely quicksand at this point, right? He has no legs at all. But it just changes the dynamic of the game when they have people who can actually make the run.
Absolutely. I mean, you said it best. And I was surprised as well. They had been sporting that 4 in the back with Noah Allen as like a pseudo left back. And like you said, Jordi Alba playing more of a winger position. But I think the biggest surprise for me was the fact that Mascherano took out Bright and went with a double pivot of Sergio Busquets and Rodrigo de Paul, a position we haven't seen Rodrigo de Paul play yet since his since he came to Inter Miami. And it's a position that we know that he plays for the national team, in a position that he played throughout his career. And so I think the bright spot in the first half, and pun intended, right? But the bright spot, it was Rodrigo de Paul's play. And in addition to the rest of the team who didn't play that well, I thought Rodrigo de Paul played a much better first half than what he had been showing over the last few games. So that to me was the biggest surprise. And I was happy about that because, as you and I have talked off air quite a bit, we have said that if Inter Miami is going to do something, they need to use their pacey wingers to create some space and to allow Messi and Busquets to put those through passes like we saw today. Busquets to Messi, Messi to Baltasar Rodriguez. It was just magic in the second half. But the first half was the same thing that we've seen from Inter Miami over the last 2 or 3 games, which has been a boring brand of soccer, very slow, not a lot of connection, not a lot of transition out of the back, no overlapping runs, and it was just just a bore fest of a first half. Other than a couple of plays that NYCFC got close and almost scored.
Yeah, and I also too, I think that that there was the Nico Fernandez one where he had Maxi Falcone's head on a swivel and absolutely cooked him, and he should have scored that goal, and he hit the right post. He should have easily scored that goal, but that was a bad miss. And I think that one of the most disappointing things about New York City FC tonight was that their best player would start on the bench, and I think that was detrimental to them. But they just didn't look very sharp. They had chances, man. They had chances. And one other thing, too, when we're talking about some things that Inter Miami didn't do well tonight, I think one of the biggest things was that you saw the deficiencies with speed. They don't handle speed well, and that's what we saw against Orlando City a lot of times this year, why Miami struggled against them, because they have pacey wingers. But you saw Ojeda on the right side just cooking Ian Frey. You saw him cook, or not Ian Frey, Jordi Alba. And then you saw he cooked Ian Frey when he switched to the left side in the second half, but he cooked Jordi Alba, and he was cooking Maxi Falcone. There was one time on an island where Maxi Falcone just had no chance of keeping up with him. But that is one thing that you saw that they struggled with. But New York City FC were not able to convert these chances, but Inter Miami were able to have it. Messi had a beautiful pass to Baltasar Rodriguez right before the end of the first half. Absolute clinical pass. And that's why he's a maestro, right? He's pulling the strings and setting these guys up. And that's what you see the difference is, Solana. When you have a guy who can make that run, Messi can find them and set them up. And it was a beautiful finish by Baltasar Rodriguez. And the reason why I say that is because we have seen time in and time out this year, Allende have these chances, and he's just not clinical enough to finish it. And I even said this during the live stream. If that was Allende, he would not have finished that.
Well, Allende had a shot at the end of the second half, and he absolute skied it. He was alone in front of Matt Freese, and he skied it. So absolutely, I think you nailed it on the head, right? One of the things that Inter Miami struggles with is that speed. We've seen it over and over again. With Minnesota, they had trouble with Minnesota. They had trouble with Charlotte, with their speedy wingers. They've had trouble with these teams. But one of the things that Inter Miami has struggled with over the last few games is finishing their chances, especially early in games, right? And that's something that today they didn't finish their chances, but they got that goal at the end of the first half, which I think absolutely changed the game and changed the momentum, because in the first half, it was pretty even in terms of both sides, playing a similar brand of football, both sides attacking and getting to the goal, but not being able to finish. The fact that Inter Miami was able to finish that chance, I think absolutely changed the game for them and set the tone for what was about to happen in the second half.
Okay, so the first half, Inter Miami won possession at 58% of the time. They also had 6 shots compared to New York City FC's 5 shots, 3 on target. New York City FC had 1. So let me ask you this about Inter Miami. Who were you most disappointed with their first half performance on Miami in the first half? Like, who do you think had a bad first half player-wise for Inter Miami?
Luis Suárez. Luis Suárez, I think, overall, to me, was the worst player on the field for Inter Miami today. And not because, he played terrible. I don't think he played bad. I just don't think he did much at all other than the penalty that he scored at the end of the game. He really wasn't a factor in the game. He did play a role in that second goal where he brings the ball down and passes it to Tadeo Allende. Allende passes it to Busquets. Busi finds Messi, and we score that second goal. But other than that, he didn't play a factor in the game. He was an absolute ghost. And I wasn't expecting that from Suarez today, especially coming off of basically a 2.5-week break where he was suspended for 3 games and he got a nice little stretch of rest, something that he hasn't had much of this season. But to me, it has to be Luis Suarez. He was an absolute ghost all game.
Yeah, he did have that one beautiful flick. I think Messi passed to him where he backheeled it looking for, or maybe he didn't backhill it, but it was a nice flick he had to who was it that he passed it to? Maxi Falcone. And Maxi Falcone like just tripped on his own feet, his own shoelaces. He didn't know what to do with the ball, and he wasn't even able to shoot it. But that was a great flick, a great look by Luis Suarez. And that's kind of like what we've seen. Luis Suarez is not the clinical finisher he has been in years past. He's been more of the old man, the turtle playmaker, right? La Tortuga playmaker. But yeah, I think he was bad. And you just saw that at this point, Mr. I think said this earlier. He said something about that, it's not about him being gassed. He's just, this is what he is at this point. He's slow and old, man. He just doesn't have the juice that he had at one time. Has nothing. I mean, 3-game rest for him, Solana. It didn't even matter. He's still the same speed, one speed. He only has one gear at this point. So, and I think that definitely hurts the build-up play, but it is nice that they have guys out wide who can help, I guess, help with the lack of pace that Suarez has, like we've seen with the Baltasar Rodriguez goal. But I would agree with you. I do think that Suarez looked bad in the first half. But as far as players, obviously, besides Messi with his assist, who is someone that you were impressed with in the first half outside of Messi?
I really love Matteo Silvetti. I really love what he showed, the potential that he showed. He's extremely aggressive. He's very clinical with the ball. And he's very, very, very speedy on the wing. So I think he showed great potential. Little by little, Mascherano is giving him some more minutes as we've seen him, come in as a sub the first couple of games. Now he gets a start. And I think he played very well. I also was impressed with Baltasar Rodriguez. I think he did fantastic as well. One thing that I want to mention on Suarez, though, is on that Baltasar goal, one thing that Suarez does fantastic is he takes the center defender, the center back with him as he checks to the ball and allows and gives Baltasar that space for Messi to put the ball through the defender's legs and find Baltasar on that goal. So Suarez did make a good run to pull a defender with him. But, he doesn't make the impact that he was making last year. So for me, my two, players who impressed me in the first half were the two wingers, right? The man who scored the goal in Baltasar Rodriguez and Matteo Silvetti, who's the new young guy who, is coming in with all the potential in the world.
Yeah, I thought Silvetti was chasing the ball a lot, which is good. He you saw the young legs when, doing a lot of running for these older guys. I thought Rodrigo de Paul looked pretty good too, more in his natural position as a, box-to-box midfielder. And I think that this could be what we see the rest of the season. We see that this formation with these two guys, Busquets and de Paul playing next to each other and Yannick Bright being a sub. But yeah, I mean, I agree with you. I think the wingers were probably the two most impressive parts of the first half for me. And I also want to ask you guys, what would you rate Inter Miami's performance? We do this during the live watch along, but I want to know what you guys think. How would you rate Inter Miami's performance today, 1 through 10, 4-0 win, 1 being bad, 10 being perfect? What would you rate Inter Miami's win against New York City FC? Now, let's talk about the second half, okay? And then when we get done talking about the second half, we're going to talk about Inter Miami down, like what they have for the rest of the season, where they are in the standings, and how likely it is that they win the Supporters Shield. The second half, I thought Inter Miami came out a little sluggish. I don't think they kind of looked a little bit more like they did the first half, like almost where they were content with the 1-0 win or the 1-0 lead. We see this a lot of times with these older teams. We see it with Inter Miami and under Mascherano, and we see it with Steve Cherundolo with LAFC. But were you kind of concerned with the effort or lack thereof in the beginning of the first or the second half?
Yeah, I mean, I've said it over and over again with this team over the last couple of weeks and watching them in these last few games. They just look sluggish. They look, it's a boring brand of soccer. They go, instead of going vertically, they go laterally, and they pass the ball back and forth and back and forth. And I don't know if they're trying to lull the opponent to sleep so that they can find that pass into the final third as they lull the opponent to sleep, or I don't know if they're lulling themselves to sleep. It's one of the two, because it's just absolutely boring, Will. And honestly, I was a little bit concerned because this team is a team that's not known for keeping clean sheets, right? So it's a team that has to score multiple goals in order for you to feel comfortable for that they're going to secure the win. So a 1-0 lead for this team is concerning until they put that second or third goal on the board. And luckily enough, they were able to get one about 15 minutes into the second half, right?
A little. I think so. I think a little, like probably around that. Yeah, they got this messed up. I think it was about 15 minutes. So FOTMob has it completely messed up. It's got Busquets on the score sheet, which he obviously didn't score. It was Messi that scored. But yeah, I thought they this is a thing though that I always say about Miami, Solana, is that Miami don't ever just score one goal when Messi's in the lineup. They always, if they score a goal, they're scoring 2, they're scoring 3, they're scoring 4, they might even score 5. That's just what they do. And we've seen this team even dating back to last year. Normally, when they do score a goal, or when eventually they will just keep, like, they score them in like short windows, right? I think they scored 3 goals within 5 minutes, something like that. That's just what they do. So that's what makes them so dangerous. So like even if they're down 2-0, so Messi scored in the 74th minute. So 25, 20, or no, about 20, 19 minutes in the second half. But Inter Miami is so dangerous because they can turn it on and to score in absolute droves. And Messi scored. It was the chip was his first goal, right? I'm pretty sure the chip was his first goal. It was a beautiful chip, right? Busquets with a beautiful pass. I think that was the first goal. Yeah, it was Busquets with the beautiful pass to Messi, had the chip over Matt Freese. Incredible goal for him to take the lead. Like I said earlier, 23rd goal of the season. And then I'm trying to remember who got fouled. Yeah, Rodrigo de Paul got fouled inside the box, was confirmed a penalty. Luis Suárez takes the penalty. Little surprised by that, just because, I thought maybe they'd want Messi to get that, get that golden boot. But then again, when I started to think about it, I was like, well, maybe they want Luis Suárez to get his confidence and have him find the back of the net because they want him to be in the best form possible. And dude, he buried it.
I'll tell you this. I don't think it's the latter. I think it has to do more with what has Messi done when he's taken penalties the last few times? And he's missed quite a few penalties over his career. He's not the most, consistent penalty taker. Last game, he gives the penalty to Matteo Silvetti, who missed it. This game, he gives it to Suarez, who, like you said, buries it. And he showed everybody how you take a penalty. So I think it has more so to do with that. But it also goes to show with how unselfish Messi is, right? Because if that would have been CR7, Cristiano Ronaldo, there's no way he's giving the ball up, right? There's no way he's giving the ball up, whether he's the one fouled or he's not the one fouled. And that goes to show you how unselfish Lionel Messi is as a player. He cares about his teammates. And it could have been that maybe he didn't want to give it to Suarez so that he could patch his stats and get more goals and get that confidence. But I think it has to do more with the fact that, Messi's just not a consistent penalty taker over, his career. And Suarez is just a much more consistent penalty taker. And Inter Miami and Messi wanted to get that third goal. So I think that's why, Messi allowed him to take that shot.
And when it rains, it pours, and it was pouring at Citi Field tonight. They score another goal in the 86th minute. Messi scores his 24th goal of the season. Now he has a 2-goal lead over Denny Bouanga for the Golden Boot race. It looks like he's kind of coasting by at this point. Like he's probably going to win. This would be his first Golden Boot, but it helps his argument to winning another MVP, the second MVP. Would be the first person to ever win back-to-back MVPs in Major League Soccer history. But then at that point, it's 4-0. You kind of think, all right, this is stick a fork in it. It's over, right? It's done. So I was impressed by this. New York City FC have won 5 of their last 6 heading into this game. They are, I wouldn't say unbeatable, but pretty close to as unbeatable as you can get at home or at the baseball stadium, just because it's such a unique place to play that they're used to playing. Opposing teams aren't used to playing in a narrow field like that. So this was a statement win, Solana, for Inter Miami. And I did talk to Danny of Battered Herons earlier, and I told him that I was a little skeptical about Inter Miami's chance of winning the Supporters Shield just because they have some deficiencies. But man, if they play like this, they could win MLS Cup. And we're going to talk about the Supporters Shield standings here in a little bit. But man, this is the best they've looked in a while.
Absolutely, absolutely. It was their first win ever at NYCFC. Now, it's important to point out to your audience that they didn't play in their traditional normal home stadium, right? They normally play at Yankee Stadium. The game tonight was at Citi Field at the Mets Stadium in Queens. So the dimensions of the field tonight were actually slightly wider than what they normally play on at Yankee Stadium. So I don't think the field played much of a role in tonight's matchup like it normally does when NYCFC gets to play at Yankee Stadium, because it is a much more narrow field when you compare it to the rest of the fields in MLS. But nonetheless, the fact that you beat a team who had basically been unbeaten over the last month, right? They winning 5 of their last 6 or unbeaten 5 of their last 6. It goes to show you that this team, really does want to win. And it doesn't matter what's going on in the locker room. It doesn't matter what's going on with their coach. They're saying, hey, we've got, Messi, we've got Suarez, we've got Busquets, we've got Alba, we've got DePaul, and that's enough for us to win everything. And I think that's the mentality that these guys are going to go into these last 5 games.
I agree. And I want to pull up the standings right now to see where it currently sits. Inter Miami have 55 points. They have 29 games played, so they've got 2 games in hand compared to Philadelphia and Cincinnati. And if they just play those 2 games and those other teams play no games and they catch up, and Inter Miami wins, that would put them at 61 points, 1 point ahead of Philadelphia in the Eastern Conference standings. And so they're in a good spot right now if they can win their games. Now, their schedule is very favorable. They play Toronto FC this coming Saturday. They play New England Revolution. They play Chicago,
Atlanta United, and then they finish off at home against Nashville.
So they have 5
away at Nashville.
Away at Nashville. So they have 5 games remaining. I would say it's a pretty favorable schedule to them. Like, they probably could win the remainder of their games, I would say. So based on where things stand right now, and we'll get more into the Supporter Shield, where are you thinking Inter Miami will finish the season in the Eastern Conference standings when it's all said and done?
Look, like you said, they have favorable matchups. They have Toronto this weekend, who sits, pretty low in the table. Chicago, another team that hasn't had their best year under Triple G. Inter Miami is going to get New England and Atlanta United, 2 teams that play on turf. Luckily, they'll be playing them at home at Chase Stadium, where Inter Miami is very, very good. They're a very good home team. So I think those 4 games are winnable, and that would give them 60.
If they win the remainder of their games, are you talking about if they win the remainder of their games?
I think the only game where they're going to have trouble with is going to be that away game at Nashville, because I think Nashville is going to be playing for their seeding in the playoff race, and I think Inter Miami is going to go into Nashville with a playoff spot already clinched, and it'll be interesting to see what the teams are and what the positions are in that last day, because if Inter Miami's already clinched the Supporter Shield, which they can if other teams lose and they win these 4 games, they won't have to play any of their stars, and they get to rest a lot of their stars. So I think all 5 games that are left are winnable. The 15 points are definitely manageable, but I think realistically it'll be 12 out of 15. That'll put them at 67 points, and I think that'll be enough to at least secure a top 2 spot in the Eastern Conference.
Yeah, so if they win out, they'll have 70 points. And even if they do that, it'll be, I don't know for sure they'll win the Supporter Shield, which we'll get into a little bit. I would think that they have to win at least 4 of the remaining games if they want to be top of the Eastern Conference and have home field advantage throughout the playoffs. Just because if Philadelphia win the remaining 3 of their games, Inter Miami would have to win all of their games to finish the top of the Eastern Conference. So I think they're going to have to win at least all four of the last 5 and at least get a draw in the 5th game to finish 68 points. Now, Is Philadelphia going to win the remaining 3 matches? I don't know. Probably there's a chance they could. I mean, it's easier to win 3 matches than 5 matches, right? Obviously, it's just simple math there. Now, I guess it doesn't matter, who they're playing, but Inter Miami control their own destiny. They win out. They will be at the top of the Eastern Conference. Now, let's look at the Western Conference because that's who they're competing with for the Supporter Shield. The team that is the biggest threat to Inter Miami for the Supporter Shield that Inter Miami does not control their own destiny is Vancouver. Vancouver also has 5 games in hand. Now, they do have the 55 points like Inter Miami, but if they finish the season with the same amount of wins, draws, and losses, it's going to go down to goal difference. And as of right now, Inter Miami is they're 18 plus 18 goal difference, whereas Vancouver's plus 25. So that's the biggest threat, in my opinion, to the Supporter Shield. Vancouver is really good. They're a very solid team, especially since they had Thomas Muller. It's going to be a complete battle down the stretch to see who is going to be the Supporter Shield winner. What do you think the chances are that they win the Supporter Shield as it stands right now?
I mean, I think the chances are high, right? If they play the rest of their remaining games, how they played the second half tonight, or at least the last 30 minutes of the second half, then I think they'll win all 5 games and they'll end up with, the 70 points and clinching the Supporter Shield. But looking at Philadelphia's schedule, they have a pretty favorable schedule as well. They play DC United, who's not a very good team. They play New York City in New York, which will be a really interesting game heading into, the second to last game of the season. And then they get to host Charlotte, for the last game on October 18th, a team who's going to be, again, battling playoff seeding and looking to, get as high up the table as possible. So if Philadelphia can drop a game, I think, the coast is clear for Inter Miami to win the Supporter Shield. Now, I haven't taken a look at Vancouver's schedule, but I'm gonna pull it up really quickly because I'm curious. They
play tonight. They play in 25 minutes. They play
against Portland, right? Which is a tough game, and that's a very tough game. Playing against Portland. They also have Seattle next week. They play San Jose, which is not going to be an easy game. They have Orlando City, which is a tough game. And then they close out with FC Dallas. So I think they have a much less favorable matchup, matchups than Inter Miami. I think they could drop a couple of games within that stretch. So again, I think Inter Miami right now is the favorite to win the Supporter Shield if, and it's a big if, right? If they can continue playing how they played the last 30 minutes of tonight's game. So
you think they have a chance for the Supporter Shield, which they do, and they obviously have a chance to finish atop the East. Is this team the favorite to win MLS Cup right now?
I think they have to be, right? I think they have to be, regardless of how bad they've played over the last, month and a half, 2 months, whatever it might be. I think you have to put them as the favorite just because of the team that they've put together. And the fact that their young guys, their young wingers are now starting to, what it looks like, come into form, with Baltasar scoring a goal today, with Matteo Silvetti getting the start. If they can somehow, and I know it's going to be unlucky because Matteo Silvetti now leaves to go join the Argentina U20 team in Chile for the World Cup that starts next week. So that, that'll either put him in better form or he'll end up coming back to the team early because Argentina gets eliminated and he'll get back to the team and start playing with them. So I think that'll only benefit Matteo Silvetti. And look, I think they're the favorites. I think because of the roster that they've assembled, the team that they've put together, they have to be the favorites to win the MLS Cup.
They're right up there for me. LAFC are up there too because LAFC's been playing well. Okay, last thing. Lionel Messi, 24 goals. I think he's going to win the Golden Boot. There's a good chance he will. Is he going to be the MVP of 2025?
Not only is he going to be the MVP, but by the time he leaves the MLS, they're going to rename the MVP trophy from the Landon Donovan trophy to the Lionel Messi trophy, because I think he'll win it this year. I think he'll win it again next year. And maybe since he signed for 2 more years, he might win it in 2027.
We'll have to see, my friend. We'll have to see. I don't know if they'll rename it, but there's a chance they could. But I do think he's going to win it again because of how well the team's performing and his goals. 24 goals, 13 assists, 37 goal contributions in 23 matches is incredible. So they're in the driver's seats for many awards, my friend. I appreciate you joining me. Before I let you go, where can the people find you at?
Well, like this summer sunshine, or no, like Curious Garrett says, this idiot Solana. If you want to follow this idiot Solana, you can follow him at Dice El Danny. You can catch all my idiot takes on all my social media platforms. Love talking to you guys, so definitely give me a shout on X, on Instagram. I'm not on Blue Sky. I haven't jumped the gun to Blue Sky yet. I don't know if you have, Will.
No, I'm X exclusive. X exclusive
Perfect.
to
Me too. Me too.
It's Instagram too a little bit, but mostly X, when it comes to blogging, X exclusive. So make sure you go check them out. And guys, if you haven't already, make sure you give the video a like down below, or the stream a like down below. Try to get to 100 likes, like I said. Make sure you subscribe if you haven't already. We're going to try to hit 12,000 by the end of the year, especially with the playoffs and how incredible things are. There's still so much left to cover this season. And also hit the little bell notification so you never miss any of my videos, live watch-alongs, live streams, or any of my content. Hit the little bell notification. And also, I hope you guys have a great night. Until next time, I will see you all soon.